Hey guys! So this week is a pretty exciting holiday weekend just because we now have not one but two mamas sitting on nest. This mommy is the one that's been sitting for about 2 weeks and she has 9 eggs. 8 are about the same timeline, one's about a week behind. So we may have to move that to the incubator once these babies hatch. Here's the other nest. This mama didn't have a nest even built. She was just randomly laying eggs. And then about 2 days ago, she started building a nest and sitting on the eggs. There are 10 eggs inside of here. And she even pulled out little feathers. I can zoom in. And, oh, it's not very clear. But she pulled out feathers to put inside of her nest, which is pretty cool. Similar to how rabbits pull out fur for their nest. And so part of the duck coop I kind of kept natural. I left the grass high here, and there are actually even 2 small banana trees there. And here's the nest hidden. So whenever mommy is on the nest, because she has a really nice brown pattern, she just blends perfectly in and is well protected. And she'll pull all the dry grasses up around here and really hide the eggs. And the cool thing is, before she started sitting, I didn't even realize how many eggs were here because she covered all the eggs up completely. And she'll get right back on this nest as soon as I get out of her way because they are just not a fan of me. Everybody's gonna come out and say hi now that I'm sitting down in the chair and not bothering them. Oh look, there she goes back to her nest. If you don't know, the reason that it takes so much humidity when hatching duck eggs out in the incubators is mama ducks get off their nest once a day. And they do one of 2 things. They either bring water back in their beaks after drinking and keep their eggs moist by sprinkling it on them, or they go for a little swim and then put their bodies on the eggs, and that increases the humidity around the eggs underneath the heat of the mama. So, see what I mean? When she's down there, you can barely see her. She blends in so well. Look at those Welsh babies right there. You can see the one in the very back is a male, and the 2 up front are females. This little guy right here is a Welsh Harlequin mama and a mallard daddy, but he really looks like a dark Campbell duck, which is crazy cool. And if you know the history of your Campbell ducks, their Welsh Harlequin is actually also called a honey Campbell. There are khaki Campbells, which are the light muted ones. There are dark Campbells, which really just look like similar to a mallard with black beaks and feet, but they're really dark brown. And by mallard, I mean rowan. But they're darker, and they lay like a khaki Campbell does. And then there's actually a white Campbell that has orange feet and beaks and a white body, but they also lay a high amount of eggs. But those would be easier to pluck if you're plucking, just because they don't have the dark feathers that other ducks will have. Look, there's mommy all happy in her nest. So we actually have had a pretty rough day as far as our ducks go, because right over here we have Cotton, and he is the first Welsh Harlequin / honey Campbell duck that we've ever purchased. He is the daddy to this duckling right here that had a khaki Campbell mama and this Welsh Harlequin daddy. And the problem is that he is getting too aggressive with our ladies. Now we have 2 girls. Our 2 adult hens are sitting on nest, and I came out this morning and one of my female ducks, the younger duck, she's about 6 weeks old now, I heard quacking when I was checking underneath the rabbit cages, and there she was behind the feed bucket. And so I pulled her out, and she could barely stand. She wouldn't run away from me. That's a first indication that something's wrong, because look at these guys. They're way across the yard from me. They don't want anything to do with me. Hiding over there. They watch me from a distance. So I knew something was wrong with my girl. Didn't even, bother to run away and let me pick her up. And I was curious, like, what could have attacked this little girl? And I looked at her head, and I immediately recognized the damage. It's the same damage that the heads of our hens get when they're being overbred by our drakes. And I'm 98% sure this is the culprit. So I put that sweet baby in a cage with some food and water, and I'm about to have to get her some more water. But then I came out here, and this guy right here, this is Cotton. If you don't know the history, he was my son's Welsh Harlequin. Picked him out. That one wanted to be his pet. He had faulty coloring to start with, but we kept him for my son. But he's been getting more and more aggressive. Well, not only has he been too aggressive with our grown hens, but now he has attacked a younger duckling. And then earlier I caught him in our small kiddie pool holding one of the sitting mamas down under the water trying to breed. And at this point, I know that ducks breed in water, and that drakes need a large amount of hens, but there's really no reason for him to be this aggressive, and it's just getting out of control. So I think at this point, I'm just going to have to cut a loss, and my son's going to have to learn the hardest lesson on the homestead, and is that sometimes it's really important, and it's a requirement to remove certain animals from the breeding program. And because we are homesteaders, for us, that means that he's going to be eaten. I just can't justify giving him to another home, regardless of the amount of duck hens they may or may not have, because he is aggressive. He will target out one or two hens and breed them over and over again instead of focusing on other females. He will hold them underwater. I'm not even sure if that younger duck is going to survive. Right now she's eating and drinking, but she still can't really walk. She can't stand straight up on her legs. So I don't know if it's weakness, because he didn't just pull the feathers out of her head. He damaged her wing. She was covered in mud. This tells me, he was holding her down in the mud. He was just being overly rough. Never should a duck be bred so hard that it's that way. But look, these are little tiny ducks so far. They're not very big. So he's just, compared to him, and this drake over here does not act like that. He's very calm. So the downside is that we won't be getting any Welsh Harlequin ducks for at least a year, I would say, because my babies, they probably won't reach sexual maturity, until next spring. So no Welsh Harlequin cross ducklings, except for obviously these two are crosses and they are mature, but it's not going to be like half Welsh Harlequin, half whatever other breed. And that's disappointing, and it's going to be a huge disappointment for our son, who, he really likes Cotton, but he also understands what it takes to run a homestead, and sometimes you have to make tough decisions. And that's why I'm just begging you, as a parent and homesteader, if you are homesteading, don't let your kids claim the animals. I know that's difficult. They can be responsible for them, but you never know if something's going to happen to one of your breeders, whether it's ducks or rabbits or chickens, and you're going to have to pull that duck or other animal out of your program. And at this point, it's not just because he has terrible faulty colors. It's also because he has a terrible temperament, and it's now caused injury to 3 ducks in one day. That's not okay with me. So this is going to be the last week that anybody sees Cotton on anything, and it's just a hard lesson, but I think it's the reality of homesteading. And I think it's something that people are going to have to come to terms with if they want to raise their own meat.